Why is Russia still an authoritarian state more than a generation after the collapse of the Soviet Union? Because there was once a point in time when it appeared like Russia was on the verge of becoming a multi-party republic, complete with the same political and economic freedoms that Americans enjoy today. And on paper, the country appears to operate exactly like that. The Russian Constitution actually guarantees things like freedom of speech, religion, assembly, and association. It pledges to defend property rights, guarantees everyone the right to a fair trial, and declares that all citizens are equal before the law. In addition to that, the Russian Constitution lays out a system of checks and balances Americans would be very familiar with. It boasts a bicameral parliament, regular elections, and a judiciary that operates independently of the executive branch. And yet, despite all of this, it's pretty clear to anyone paying attention that Russia doesn't exactly operate like a free country. Elections are not really free. The State Duma operates as more of a rubber stamp for the executive, and the judiciary works to punish any dissent against the regime. In short, Vladimir Putin has effectively amassed about as much power as any of the old rulers of the Soviet Union, and he has wielded that power to clamp down on freedoms, murder his opposition, and invade his neighbors. So what happened? I mean, how did Russia go from here?
It has collapsed, never to rise again. I am here to assure you, we shall not let it rise again in our land.
To here.
Мною принято решение о проведении специальной военной операции.
Well, in 1993, a massive constitutional crisis broke out between President Boris Yeltsin and the Russian parliament. Yeltsin had been pushing for rapid reforms to liberalize the Russian economy, but he found his efforts blocked by a parliament that still held quite a bit of nostalgia for the Soviet Union and also disliked the president's autocratic leadership style. In a drastic move, Yeltsin dissolved the parliament in September of 1993, which retaliated by impeaching him and attempting to remove him from office. Without a clear, constitutionally legitimate government, partisans from both sides quickly took to the streets, triggering a series of bloody clashes in the heart of downtown Moscow. And with Russia on the brink of a full-scale civil war, both sides appealed to the military to come to their aid. But Yeltsin's supporters acted first. In a dramatic scene, tank columns loyal to the Russian president shelled the Russian parliament before Spetsnaz troops stormed the building. When the dust cleared, Yeltsin had won. And he was now free to pursue his agenda to continue liberalizing the economy and developing closer relations with the West. But this pivotal moment set an awful precedent for centralizing power in the hands of one individual. Because after Yeltsin left office, Vladimir Putin used the new powers Yeltsin had acquired to methodically build the regime we see today. The media was, shall we say, incentivized to favor the government. Dissenting voices within Russian politics were either silenced, jailed, driven into exile, or even murdered. And the judiciary, which had originally sided with the Russian parliament against Yeltsin, was brought in line with the Kremlin's agenda. Back in 1993, one could have argued that Russia either had or was at least on the verge of having a truly free press, free elections, and free markets. But today, Russia doesn't have these things. Perhaps the tragedy in all of this is that the man who laid the groundwork for Putin's Russia is the same man who had once championed its transformation into a democratic state. For America, Russia's sharp pivot back towards authoritarianism serves as a warning of just how dangerous it is to allow for the concentration of power. Boris Yeltsin saw Russia's constitutional struggle as a battle between classic liberalism and an unholy alliance of communists and fascists who wanted to restore the Soviet Union. He probably genuinely thought he was doing the right thing. But as James Madison has warned, the accumulation of all powers in the same hands may justly be pronounced the very definition of tyranny. And history has demonstrated time and again that once power has been accumulated in the hands of the executive, it becomes very difficult to get it back. Do you have a why you would like us to answer? Go into the link in the description and pose your question, and maybe the next Why Minutes will be dedicated to you.